Oh God, that's. One of these days, I'm gonna start one of these with actual confidence. Be like, oh, hey, all right, let's go. No. Until then, it is unsure apprehension. And praying my computer doesn't eat itself. Click me. When I got back to the base, I ran a search for Nozomi, but it was just a common word that meant wish in Japanese too, so there were too many results to narrow down. Oh God, this isn't the way. Keyboard white. That's better. Okay. Am I still? I need a better microphone. Thinking back, the logical assumption that was that Mr. Nozomi worked for a company that made those worksheets and was a salesman that had been visiting the hospital. Sometime recently, he'd finally managed to sell the hospital on using the sheets, and today I'd been asked to fill one of them out. No, wait, that was impossible. I'd never heard of a salesman or somebody on the outside being allowed to sit in on a patient's sessions. Clean my glasses. There. Just who was that guy? Crap. Now I had another nagging memory to deal with. At least I'd figured out where the deja vu was coming from. I decided that next week I would ask the doctor about my memories. Until then, I'd forget about school and just stay in my room. I couldn't go to school if there was somebody there trying to hurt me. I didn't want to break my schedule, but it wouldn't do me any good if I was dead. I gave up on my search for Nozomi and went to @channel to see if there were any interesting threads. Anonymous's afternoon. It's the new generation madness. I can't bear it. I don't know if that's supposed to be a bear pun, but I like to imagine it is. Nude gen. Sorry, nude gen? I thought it was new gen. 1 at group dive, 2 pregnant man. That still is, that fucks me up bad. Just thinking about that one bothers me. Number 3, crucified. And number question mark. I mean, it wouldn't be number question mark. It would be number 4, but, you know, to be continued. I sure hope not. The news board was filled with nothing but new generation madness threads. Even the ESO board had a recreate the new gen murders in ESO thread going. I was getting sick of it. That's upsetting. Maybe don't. That's what our nice fantasy MMO needs. More, like, serial murderers. When I logged into ESO, Grim was there. Oh. I keep forgetting I have to advance when there's this kind of text. @chan's news boards have been boring as hell lately. It's all new gen crap. Well, it's the biggest story right now. Every time there's a new case, it's a big festival. Everybody goes crazy. I didn't see what the... Hold on. The whole thing popped up, but I didn't actually see what it was. Festival. Ah, I see. Extreme excitement on @chan with countless threads being started and quickly filled to capacity. Interesting. I like how it's weird. The name on his character sheet is Nightheart, Hart, but the in the in the text it's Nightheart, like the heart. That's funny to me. I don't know why. They haven't caught the killer yet? Well, you know, cops are morons. Sure. Some idiots have even decided that's actually a cute moe girl. What kind of fool would fall for that? It's so silly. What? No, that's crazy. What are you talking about? That demon girl. Visions of the dark eyes of the girl I'd seen during the crucifixion killing came back to me, and I shivered. I didn't want to remember it at all, but the slightest little thing in the memory. This is very difficult to read with text on top of text. Makes it my eyes bleed. Slightest little thing, and the memories came flooding back. I'd seen the killer's face. I knew who she was. Should I have told the cops? But I didn't want to get involved. Demon Girl. Is that the latest variation? It's going a little too far. Anyway, New Gen... Oh my god. I'm just gonna wait till it... Okay. Anyway, New Gen is just fascinating stuff. I joined a New Gen community on Furipara. You're getting too into it. The only ones in our guild who aren't into it are you and Big Sis Geji. Seriously? If that was true, then I wouldn't be able to keep up with the discussion in our chat channel. New Gen... I'm waiting. Okay. New Gen's just really messed up stuff. It's crazy to read about. I knew you were into Guro stuff. But don't tell me you're the kind of guy who wants to see art in his murders. That crucified corpse was such a mess. I thought it was some kind of art piece for a minute. If you'd wanted to call it artwork, I guess you could. I'm waiting. Nah, it'd be better if they had some perverted sexual element to them, right? No, I think that would make it worse, actually. It's like the ultimate kind of S&M. I don't like where this conversation is going. I don't like it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Once you lose your virginity, you'll understand. Oh, wait, I missed this guy's a goner. Somebody needs to do something about it. Once you lose your virginity, you'll understand. So you're telling me you're not a virgin? And then I don't know what that face means. It's like an angry cat face. And that... Sigma? You traitor! Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff on the aggregator sites. Take a look sometime. I didn't want to look at them. They scared me. I wanted to run away from the fact that I'd been at the murder scene. That's why I'd cut myself off from all information about New Gen. That was how I'd hoped to convince myself that it was all just a delusion, but... In ESO, I was practically a god. It wasn't enough to be strong. I had to know everything. Especially since I was kind of a leader in the guild. If I was supposed to be the leader, but I couldn't even keep up with oh my god, it's so hard to read. My brain won't allow me to just be like, just focus on the text on top. It keeps... But I couldn't even keep up with whatever everyone was talking about. It would just be embarrassing. I had to avoid that. That was painful. I went to the address that Grim gave me. The top banner read New Gen Aggregator in big letters. Aggregator sites were a kind of wiki, where any number of people could add information to articles about a certain topic. A New Gen aggregator site would have information about New Gen, constantly updated by different users. Some of that information wasn't trustworthy in the slightest, and sometimes there were trolls, but if you wanted an easy way to get a handle on the basic facts of something, it was good. There were always tons of links, for one thing. I decided to start with an article called The Case So Far. My pulse started to quicken. Just reading the site was enough to make me nervous. I could feel the sweat forming on my hands. see. New Gen headlines. The earthquake 2 months ago. 3 bizarre incidents in a row. Body nailed to concrete wall. Neighbors heard sound of a nail being pounded in. Different killer for each. Crucified pregnant man group dive. Victim was 56-year-old college professor. Interesting. The first case, the one they called group dive, was when a group of 5 boys and girls from a high school had all jumped off a building. It happened on September 7th, about a month ago. It was in the middle of the night at a place called Shibuya Cornelius Tower. The 5 had jumped off the building's helipad and died instantly on impact. The autopsy showed that each of them had DNA belonging to someone else under their nails, and there were scratch marks found too. It was theorized from this that the 5 of them must have jumped off the building while holding hands. There was no sign of any kind of suicide note left on the roof. Below the summary was some information added by some internet detective. These types were often referred to as snakes, who'd actually gone to Cornelius Tower. According to him, these... hold on, I'm not familiar with that lingo. The name of a protagonist from a popular series of Oh, I get it, snake. Got it. Online, the word was used to refer to people who would perform anonymous or top-secret investigations for the benefit of netizens. Sometimes this was referred to as going snaking. Dun, 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 dun. According to him, the roof was off limits to visitors, and the door to it was kept locked at all times. Of course, it was locked at the time of the jump to... I can't read. Of course, it was locked at the time of the jump too. None of the deceased had a key on their bodies when they'd been found. This meant that the helipad was, in a way, a locked room, like you saw in murder mysteries. There was nothing to suggest how the 5 of them had gotten up there. Oh my god, it's still so hard to read the color. Just like, It was entirely likely that someone else had been there as well. I wonder if is there like a setting to like decrease the opacity of the box? Just a little bit, you know? Config. Text settings. That's not what I'm looking for. I guess not. Also, it's interesting that the was the settings always the Nozomi system? That's funny. I wonder if it was always that way, or if it must have been, right? Interesting. The second case, the pregnant man. I don't want to talk about the pregnant man. Can we not talk about the pregnant man? Happened on September 19th, around 12 days after the first. Early in the morning near Shibuya Station. We're talking about the pregnant man, I guess. Here we go. Shibuya Station underpass. A college student was walking home from karaoke when they'd found a blood-stained man collapsed on the ground. The collapsed man was a university student who lived in Shibuya ward named Chizuo Konoe, age 21. Oh my god. He was dead when he was found, but he had an unnatural bulge in his stomach. The autopsy showed that someone had opened up his chest, shoved a newborn baby into his stomach, then sewn him back up. Jesus. Fucking Christ. That's too much, man. I can't handle that. That's too much for me. In addition, DNA analysis had shown that there was no relation between the baby and the man. He was, oh, so that wasn't his baby. I mean, I guess that's a fair point, but like, oh my god, I can't, dude. He was, according to the reports, unmarried and had no girlfriend. The rest of it was internet speculation, but the baby appeared to be in the 32nd week of pregnancy, which would mean it was probably removed from the mother by C-section. It's already gruesome, but like the fact that, yeah, it was just, literally an infant was removed and then put into, I hate it. Who the mother was, though, or where she was, or what she was doing, or even if she was alive or dead, none of that was known. It was possible that the cops knew, but if they did, they weren't talking. I'm right there with you, Takumi. It's too much. I looked away from the monitor, feeling like I was about to throw up. This was disgusting. The killer was insane. I knew that for sure, and it was also possible. That girl had been behind these horrible murders. Well, we know she has something to do with... Well, Japan's screwed. I took a moment to gaze at my beautiful Seritan. Looking at her helped me calm down. I thought about taking the sedatives the doctor had given me, but for now, Seritan was good enough. I guess. Sorry, I have my own Seritan over there. Moving on. Still, though, I had to do it to keep up Nightheart's reputation as a leader, but reading these hurt. Oh my god.
辛いならさ、読まなくていいって。タッキーがド M ってんなら別に止めないけど、辛そうなタッキーは見てられないさ。もうやめよう。楽しいことだけしてようよ。いつもみたく私にハーハーしてもいいからさ。
Wow, okay. Just going straight into it, alright. Seritan was such a nice girl. I mean, hey, I respect the consent, you know? You gotta be sure about that. She was my only true ally, my wife. It's a mutual thing, you know? I ain't judging. I put my elbow on the table and rested my head in my hand, taking deep breaths as I stared at Seritan's smile. Whew, I felt so much better. Maybe I could read a little more if I took breaks to glance over at Seritan. I decided to give it a try. Why had these two seemingly separate incidents both been given the label New Generation Madness? The group dive was treated as just a suicide at first. That's a good point, actually. I hadn't even thought... I mean, guess maybe the like, absurdity of it, right? Like, these... But I guess like a mass suicide isn't necessarily like super bizarre. It's just like upsetting and bad. But the pregnant man thing is deeply disturbing. Yeah, okay, yeah. Treated as just suicide at first. But after the pregnant man case, the net started taking another look at the group dive and found out how many strange elements there were to the case. Yeah, so maybe it's just like absurdity, bizarreness. Speculation began that it was actually a murder, not a suicide. Supposedly, the parents of the dead kids and their friends all said that there was no way they would have killed themselves, could have killed themselves, and would have by extension. Since both the cases were in Shibuya, a traditional center for young people, the news started calling it the madness created by the new generation of youth, and then simply the New Generation Madness. The name stuck. And then there was the third case, the crucified murder, they were calling it. That was the one I'd seen. The aggregator site didn't have much information on the case because it was so new. The murdered man was Hisa Ota, a 56-year-old college professor. He'd been nailed with stakes to the concrete wall of an empty house. Starting at 8 p.m., the estimated time of the crime, neighbors heard what sounded like something hammering a nail. The sound lasted for approximately an hour. I'd heard that sound too. I could still hear it. It was an awful sound. For what it was worth, no connection had been found between it and the group dive or the pregnant man. I mean, I still am a little hazy on the connection between group dive and pregnant man, honestly. But after 3 bizarre incidents in the same city of Shibuya, everyone naturally treated the crucified murder as the third part of the New Generation Madness. The medium police were saying that all 3 were committed by different individuals, but the position, or rather hope, of most people online was that it was a single person, or failing that, a single group. There were some bizarre theories involving the occult going around too, and some people were saying New Gen got its start in the earthquake 2 months ago. 2 months ago, there'd been an Intensity 3 earthquake in Shibuya. An Intensity 3 quake was small enough that you could be walking down the street and not feel it. But despite the small size of the quake, it had made the news because 8 people had died. Huh. Looking back, it was true that the New Gen incidents had started after the earthquake. So the proponents of the occult theory were saying that the 8 deaths in the earthquake could be counted as the first New Gen case. Sometimes they'd get into arguments with the more mainstream New Gen theorists. No matter who was behind it, it was bizarre that 3 such incidents could happen without a single clue as to who was behind it. A lot of people online were eagerly awaiting a 4th incident too. If I wasn't directly involved, I might have been all... I don't remember what that is. Let me check my tips. I'm pretty sure it got tipped, right? It's Japanese net slang for hopeful and excited. I might have been all myself, participating in the festival and eagerly waiting for a 4th incident too. Damn it. They were all having so much fun while I was feeling miserable. It had been over a week since Crucified, and there'd been nothing from the demon girl or the police. If they knew I was there, at a minimum, the police would have come to talk to me, but there was no sign of them. Whew, it looked like I was going to be able to stay out of this, to not get involved. I was about to say, and then there's this lady. So, I don't think not being involved is an option. Yua's words flashed through my mind. But just when I was about to finally relax, I suddenly found myself feeling awful again. The photos that Shogun had sent me, they were still stored on my computer. Everything Yua had said was just a figment of her own delusions. It was crazy. It wasn't even a real theory. I hadn't been able to ask about it at the hospital, but there was no way I could have been someplace else while I was awake, doing something I didn't remember. It was impossible. It had never happened before, for one thing. Those Guro photos had to be fake. But they're creepy, and I don't really want to look at them. This is so funny. Yeah, that's right. Yua seemed convinced that I was the one behind Crucified, but that was impossible. I'd seen the person who'd actually done it. I couldn't let her blame me for the crime. I gulped and double-clicked to open the folder where my cash was stored. And now we're here. Yasuji Ban entered the big conference hall at the Shibuya police station for the first time in 3 days. The conference for what was being called the Maruyamacho crucifixion murder had already begun, and some of the officers were glaring at him for being late. Ban forced a weak smile at them before sitting down, telling them he'd been in the toilet, throwing up. Didn't seem like it would suit the current mood of the room. They'd assembled a task force to handle the Maruyama crucifixion murder the morning after the incident. Between the Cornelius Tower group suicide and the Shibuya Station area man-baby murder cases, the police force was already stretched thin. So even Ban, a nobody lieutenant from Section 1 of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, had been sent in to help out the Shibuya ward cops. Since all 3 cases had happened in the jurisdiction of the Shibuya police, there was now a highly unusual situation. 3 different special task forces at a single station. Because of this, the team had to take turns scheduling their day in the big conference room. Since the media kept calling it the New Generation Madness, there was a rumor going around that they were going to resolve the shortage of officers by bringing all 3 together under a New Gen Special Task Force. All of the officers thought it was a stupid idea, but that didn't mean it wouldn't happen. Captain Matsunaga was Ban's boss, and the leader of the task force. He glanced sharply at Ban. But Bond didn't notice. He took a deep breath while waving a paper fan at his face.
警部補バン警部補聞いているのか
呼ばれてるっすよ。バンさんの報告待ちなんすから。ちょっと。
Only when Bond's partner? What? Only when Bond's partner, a rookie detective named Sua, whispered to him, did he realize he was being called on.
すんません
I'm getting real Dick Gumshoe vibes from this guy.
自分っすか？
俺がいなくても報告しとけって言っといたろうが早くしろ
After a sharp elbow from his older partner, Sua sighed and stood up.
犯行現場近くの監視カメラの解析がようやく出ました。犯行時間に不審な人物が映ってました。
Oh? Question, is it going to be the demon lady or is it going to be our boy? Murmurs broke out in the room. The air instantly became tense. The detectives from the Shibuya police all began to scribble down notes, careful not to miss anything he said. I'm guessing it's going to be Takumi. Like, the demon lady seems to be pretty in the wind. I don't think she's going to be on the police's radar for a while. They were desperate to solve this case. There had been 2 brutal murders. The group dive was still classified as a suicide in the span of a single month in their district. They needed to catch the person responsible, and now, even if it meant dropping their usual stoic demeanor.
プロジェクターに映像を出します。
Who's it going to be? Sua put up an image on the projector screen, just like Bond had told them to do before they'd started. It showed a narrow, dirty back alley in Maruyamacho. Maruyamacho. It was night, and there were few lights, so it was hard to see much of anything at all.
犯行現場から約50メートル離れたところにあるコインパーキングの監視カメラです。
The parking lot was a tiny one, with no more than 2 spaces. It was located on a tiny strip of land crammed between buildings. From here, you couldn't see the crime scene. You could barely see the road in front of it. It showed the road a street away from where the killing took place. There was no audio on it either. The footage had a timestamp in the bottom right. It read 2134.
犯行現場近隣の住民の証言により、21時過ぎから21時半頃まで釘を打ちつける音がしていたというのはご承知の通りだと思いますが、この映像は21時34分。つまりまさに犯行時間直後ということになります。不審人物が映っているのは21時34分53秒からおよそ6秒間です。駐車場の前の道を奥から手前へと走り抜けていきます。
Yeah, there he is. Just then, a person appeared on the screen. They were running toward the camera in a clearly disturbed manner. The camera's resolution was low enough that it was hard to immediately tell if the person was male or female, but Bond had already spoken to the science lab and had them analyze it. This poor kid.
科捜研で解析した結果、映っている人物は男。年齢は10代後半から20代とのことっす。です。人相の判別までは無理でした。服装がかなり特徴的ですが、
I was about to say wearing a school uniform. That's unfortunate.
私立水明学園の男子制服と分かりました。それと右手に注目してもらいたいんですが。
Oh yeah, he was holding the cross nail thing. The image changed to a close-up of the person's hand. It was holding something.
スローで再生するとわかるが、走りながら腕を振っている際、この握りしめている何かが駐車場の照明に反射して光を放ってるんだな、これが。
When it was time to reveal the big discovery, Bond took over.
形状からして、
Yes, doesn't look good.
犯行に
Does
使
not
わ
look
れ
good for our
た
boy.
十字架型の杭である可能性がある。
More murmurs came from the detectives. The killer behind the crucified murder might be a teenager. That was a shock. Maybe the media's new generation madness was more than just a catchy slogan.
最も犯人に近い人物がこの少年だということか。
そういうことになりますね。
Bond stroked his unshaven chin. It was a habit of his. Whenever he got a step closer to finding a criminal, he'd run his fingers through the stubble and enjoy his victory.
以上です。
Sua sighed and sat down.
ひどいっすよ先輩。美味しいところ持ってって。
Bond ignored Sua's complaints and stared at the image of the teenage boy on the projector. I can't tell if this man is smiling or frowning. He is like 50% of him is smiling, 50% of is frowning. Hold on, just like if you cover this, if you cover the right side of his face, he looks really happy. If you cover the left side of his face, he looks distraught. That's really funny. Never seen someone smile and frown at the same time.
そいつを掴んで離さねえようにしないとな。
Well, I got terrible news for you, Takumi. You're about to be framed for murder. Bad time. God. Watch him bust in right as he has pictures of the crime on his computer. I found the image Shogun sent me in my cache folder. It was a JPEG numbered 168491. There was still a big part of me that didn't want to look at it. I mean, it was disgusting. If I looked at it, I was sure to remember the scene as it was in the real world. No, but if I was going to prove Yua wrong and prove my innocence, and that I was safe, I would need proof. Seiritan was here to help too. I could handle a little gore. I worked up my courage and double-clicked on the file to open it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it either. Oh, that's actually not too bad. Yeah, it was gory alright, but compared to what I'd seen in the real world, it wasn't that bad. And it was fake too, right? I could handle it. The first time I'd looked at it, I'd only taken a quick glance before closing it. I hadn't looked at the whole image from top to bottom. This time, I was able to take a closer look, even if I had to suppress the urge to vomit. I didn't know how to tell if an image was fake. Did you look at the direction of the shadows, the background, things like that, and see if anything was wrong? It seemed to me the most likely possibility was that they'd taken a photo of the alley first, then added in the staked corpse later. And then, the day after Shogun sent this to me, they'd carried out the murder just like in the photo. Because of the darkness and the low resolution of the photo, I couldn't tell much about the body. Only the stakes were clearly visible. The light was focused on the area surrounding the corpse, as if that was the only thing they wanted the viewer to see. It felt like whoever... Oh, there's something in the bottom left corner. I wonder what that is. It's not a person, is it? Like, I totally see something in the bottom left corner. It felt like whoever had taken this picture had framed it like that deliberately. There was no way the light shining right on the body and nowhere else was a coincidence. Or maybe it was a coincidence? I hadn't gotten a clear look at the scene when I was there for real, so I couldn't say for sure. The demon girl wasn't in the picture. But if you stared at the picture until you thought your eyes would bleed, you could make out what looked like a person in the darkness on the left edge. Yeah, it is a person. I saw it. I'm so smart and observant. I feel like a champion right now. I almost missed it. Between the low resolution and how they were standing in the shadows, they were almost impossible to spot. On my first glance, I missed them completely. It almost looks like a cleaning crew or something. I know that's not what it is, but it kind of looks like a housekeeper like wheeling a cart away. That's what I see. I doubt that's what that is, but that's what it looks like to me. Yeah. This was a doctored photo, or it should have been. So maybe the person who took it let themselves get photographed by accident. and forgot to delete it when they added in the corpse. They were wearing a Sume uniform. It must have been that demon girl then. She wore one too. I see that. I don't know how you get that from that, but hold on, is it him? I kind of see the hair. Like the hair is dark and short. I think that's totally him. Like this picture, he got this picture before it happened, but this is a picture of that. That's yeah, that's I don't know, that's crazy. But like the more I look at this person, it's definitely him. It's like him running away from the scene. But the person in the photo seems to have short hair. The demon girl had long hair. So did Yua. Also, her hair was pink. This person's hair is clearly like black or blue or whatever color that is. It's like light black. I decided to use image processing software to make it easier to see. I booted up the software and dragged the image on top of it. Then I gulped before going to the level adjustment slider in the menu. I made the photo brighter and there he is. That's you. That's you, buddy boy. What was this? The person in the photo was, without question, why me? This made no sense. I'd never even been there until September 29th. This was fake too. It had to be. I couldn't find any evidence of it at all, but it was definitely fake. It had to be. Shogun had sent it to me on the 28th. The crucified killing had happened on the 29th. If this photo showed what happened on the 29th, it would be a photo of the future.
あなたには予知能力がありますか?
Yeah. That's it sure is a photo of the future. I kicked an empty plastic bottle at my feet and shut down the image program. I opened up the properties menu to see when this JPEG file was created, and then I gasped. It had been created on the 28th, but that didn't matter now. There was something written in the comments section of the properties window. That's what my eyes were glued to. Oh god, what a hell awaits. Oh no. Oh my god, of course. Oh my god. This poor kid. I slammed my fingers down on the keyboard before pushing it to the side of the desk and cradling my head in my hands. It was too much for even Seiratan. I tried to stop myself from crying. What the hell had been going on this whole week? Why was all this happening to me? Wait a second. Say Shogun had gotten a photo of me from somewhere and used it to put me into this Guro photo. That would mean they'd either taken a photo of me themselves well before the murder, or gotten a photo of me from some other place. Given that they'd come into the chat room out of nowhere and started talking as soon as Grimm left, they were after me from the start. Maybe Shogun knew who I was then. If he did, there was no telling when he or the demon girl would attack the base, and then they'd kidnap me. I felt the prickling on the back of my neck, that gaze again. I was being watched by someone. Don't look at me. I refused to look behind me. Time for the I'm not turning around so easily game. I was shaking with terror. I wanted to go check the lock on the door, but if I looked around, I'd lose. I stubbornly stared at the monitor instead. To calm myself, I opened up a word processor program and typed the thoughts that came to me. Demon girl equals murderer, can see the future. Shogun, working for the demon girl. Yua, working for Shogun. I don't know about that. As I stared, quivering, at the word demon, I started to wonder if the girl I'd seen at the murder scene really was one. Yeah, she wasn't human. That had to be it. Maybe that's how she was able to see the future. Her demon powers would let her create a photo of what was going to happen. That would explain how she could do that terrible crucified murder all by herself, too. And Shogun worked for her. They knew I was going to witness the crime by accident, so they sent me the image in advance. I didn't know why. Maybe it was a threat. If you tell anyone, this is what will happen to you next. Or maybe it was a warning. A death sentence, telling me that I'd be next. If that was the case...
勝てるわけがない。僕は奴らにいつ殺されてもおかしくないんだ。
Angela Lerva. Am I... that what that says? Yua Kusunoki was staring at the computer in her room. She had a serious look on her face and was quickly reading through the information on her screen. Eventually, she let out a small sigh and took her hand off the mouse, before looking over at the piece of paper in front of her. I'm still a little, like, blown away by how that was real. Like, they tricked me. They made me think it was like, oh, it's not a real thing, and then it totally was real. I can't read this. How do you read that? That's crazy. Have the window be darker or something. That's painful for the eyes. It was a printout of the chat log between Shogun and Nightheart, the same as the one she'd shown Takumi Nishijo yesterday.
Nishijo-kun.
She whispered his name. Images of him sitting alone on the bench in Shoto Park came back to her. She shook her head as trying if to drive them away. Oh, funny. As trying if to drive them away. Oh, good, I can read it now. And then suddenly she gasped and turned around. Why is the word gasped so difficult to say for me?
誰かに見られていたような。
You too, huh? Her own gaze was locked on the big Garo Froggy plush that lay on her bed. It must have been her imagination, she decided. She stood up, walked over to the bed, and fell onto it face first. The sheets smelled like a sunny day. What on earth could that possibly mean? What the hell does a sunny day smell like? I get it. I get it. It's flowery language. It's an analogy. It's a play on words, or not a play on words. It's symbolic or something. What does that mean? Drives me nuts. Her mom must have dried them outside this afternoon, and now they smell like the actual sun. She buried her face in this pleasant scent. She looked around the room. Her room was kept neat and clean, a sign of her slightly obsessive personality. The largest object in the room was a huge bookshelf, packed tight from corner to corner with books. But what made it kind of cute was... the bottom was stuffed with complicated technical and computer books, but the top was filled with shoujo manga and anime DVDs. She let out another sigh and looked up at the ceiling.
DID.
She whispered the name of the mental health condition she'd been researching. She had an explanation of it pulled up on the monitor. Does she think Takumi has DID? Hmm.
辛いんですね。
Oh. She gave the stuffed Garo Froggy on her lap a tight squeeze and thought about Takumi.
でも、私、
Does she have DID? Is that what... And then her expression went blank. She gritted her teeth hard. The plot thickens. I just noticed one of the files on his desktop is arrow.jpg. I don't know why my eyes focused on that one, but gosh, Jimmy Jillikers, I wonder what that is. It hurt to breathe. All I was doing was looking up some stuff on the computer, but I could feel my heart pounding far faster than normal. There's also a couple of Miku. There's Miku.jpg, Miku.mp3. I don't know, this is funny. The sensation that something was watching me just wouldn't go away. I was still restraining the urge to turn around, but I wouldn't be able to do it much longer. I yelled at the something. Was the something the demon girl? No way, right? Was she watching me with some kind of demonic psychic power, like clairvoyance? The prickling on my neck only got more intense. It was turning into a sensation like a faint electric shock. I was starting to sweat hard. My t-shirt was soaked. Finally, I gave in and turned around, but all I saw was my room. Nothing unusual at all. I let out a scream, then stood up to make sure the door was locked. When I saw that it was, I felt a little better. I wiped the sweat off my brow with the bottom of my shirt. Oh. Then I went back to my PC and stared at the monitor again. I'd been reading up about how psychics could supposedly see the future. The ability... I'm sorry. Does that say from Wiki Pedophilia? The Encyclopedia of Useless Knowledge. Is that like some kind of joke that I'm missing? What? I don't get it. What am I get the wiki is like wiki. I get that. Why pedophilia? Why exactly? I feel like there has to be a joke there I'm missing. Some kind of like wordplay joke maybe? I don't know. Future sight. The ability to see the future before it happens. This is distinct from the ability to predict the future, where one lays out what they think will happen based on the information they have at hand. There is no scientific proof that it is possible to see the future. Different people manifest this ability in different ways. Some see the future in the form of flashbacks, and others see it in prophetic dreams. Psychics, fortune tellers, and ancient prophets are all said to possess this ability, but con artists often claim to have it as well. When I was a kid, I was absolutely sure that powers like that existed. To be honest, I still kind of believed it. That was the reason I'd immediately thought that the image the demon girl and Shogun had sent was from the future, and why I felt I had to look it up. Maybe there were psychics who could see the future everywhere, and I just didn't know it. I'd done something kind of similar when I was a kid with the bus accident, so I couldn't be sure it was impossible, right? But the more I looked into it, though, the more it all seemed like a bunch of bullshit. Either occult stuff or magic tricks. There wasn't any scientific proof that they existed, but there was no proof that they didn't exist either. I got even more annoyed and slammed my fingers down on the keys. The fact that everything was so vague made me feel scared and uneasy. Was I supposed to just keep waiting, spending every day in fear of a demon who might never come? My mind couldn't handle that. Of course, what I wanted was proof that it was impossible to see the future. But either way, I wanted a solid answer. My last hope was at Chan's occult board. That place was filled with useless trash, lies, and fakes, but sometimes there was amazing info just lying there. I opened the page for @channel, trying to stay calm. I went to the occult board and ran a search for future sight. And then... Oh dear. Future sight and prophecies. Phantasm General New Gen 43. What? Half-assed prophecies. Oh, these are like threads. Different threads. Half-assed prophecies about Japan's future. Number of guys who want FES the Psychic Princess to step on them. And then there's an arrow to, I assume that's like number of people who, I don't know if it's, maybe it's number of replies or number of responses or just number of views. Regardless, add 1 to the counter. I mean, what? Savior, talking about FES's prophecies. Bull. Are these... What's the brackets? I don't understand. I'm not internet savvy. I don't know what these things mean. There's like stuff in brackets. I don't know what it means. Bull. Phantasm haters thread. 11. Shit. Oh, bullshit. Savior fan. I don't get it. Are they just like tags? Are they... What do you guys think about Phantasm songs? Phantasm are murderers who fake prophecies. If you really had a prophetic dream, post here. Going to hear FES's prophecies offline, part 3. So, okay. Noticing a trend here. There were a surprising number of hits. About 30, actually. Was it a popular topic on 8chan these days? I gulped and looked at the threads one by one.
Phantasm FES.
Most of the threads contained the terms Phantasm or FES. I also saw the term New Gen a lot, and there was something about prophetic lyrics and murders too. I searched and found out that Phantasm was a 4-person goth punk band based in Shibuya. They were popular in the indie music scene, and their female vocalist used the stage name FES. I decided to see what that band had to do with seeing the future. The top thread was titled Prophecy, Future Sight, Phantasm General, New Gen 43. I don't know what the brackets mean. I don't know why I don't know what the 43 means. I don't know. I decided to read it. I wish he had chosen the one that I would have chosen. But I get it. I also... What was that? Black Mats. Oh, Jesus. I completely missed which one I just got. Black Mass! Satan! Alright, moving on. Mochitsuke, guys. What you need to do is get your ass to Sunday's concert. Experience every moment of FES's Black Mass. There it is. Otherwise, you'll get crucified yourself, lol. I read the... I'm not reading the lulls. I need to remember, I'm not reading the lulls. F the lulls. I read the lyrics and I gotta say that they didn't do it for me. They're so vague, you can't even call them a prophecy. I mean, isn't that the definition of a prophecy? It's not prophecy if it isn't vague. Please don't crucify me. Okay, thanks. Future Sight, you guys are making shit up. She's a vocalist, not freaking Nostradamus. Just enjoy the music. I like FES's lyrics. They're so new gen. I see what you did there, anonymous prophet. Oh, I see. They're all in. I get it. They're okay. Moving on. You guys are talking about FES and ignoring Rio the composer. Is it RYO? I feel like if it's FES, it's probably RYO, right? I don't know. Names are weird. Poor guy. FES Tan. Your lyrics taught me the meaning of life. You FES believers are weird. Good point. You know what I'd like, though? Is to have FES call me a dirty... I can already tell this one's going to be a treat. To have FES call me a dirty pig in that cold, quiet voice of hers, while she digs her boot heels into my ass. It makes me feel so much pain my eyes pop out of my head. I want to get off while she spits in my face and then slits my throat with a knife and tells me I don't deserve to live. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. That went from like a 6 to a 20. Like the good lord. FES Tan is my wife. There's a special thread for you freaks. Also, FES is my wife. Don't bump this thread, shitface. This is what you mean by the new gen prophecy? Followers guided by the light of the moon. A path of illusions. Oh wait, here we go. I guess these are the lyrics. A path of illusions that leads to this place. The shouts soon turn to silence. Feeling peace as you fall, 2 hands clasping in the wind. I can see the connection with that one. I'm anti-Phantasm, by the way. Their fans are scary. It's like they're all brainwashed or something. Followers guide the light of the moon. Illusions leads to this place. Feeling peace as you... I mean, really, it's just the last line, right? That kind of vaguely resembles... I'm with that guy. It's like, I don't see it. Her fans are gonna murder you in your sleep, dumbass. Don't share the lyrics, idiot. Read the room, dumbass Chew. The lyrics were... Well, you could interpret them as referring to the group dive, depending on how you looked at it. It's a bit of a stretch, but... And the lyrics had been published 2 months ago. In other words, they weren't written after the group dive.
これが予知ってこと？
Yes, because no one has ever written anything about the concept of falling hand in hand. I don't know, I've never heard that one before. That's crazy. Wasn't it just a coincidence? Or was Phantasm working with the demon girl too? I read more of the log and found that all 3 of the new gen cases had been prophesied by the lyrics. Atchan didn't have lyrics for the pregnant man and crucified cases, though. There seemed to be some kind of thing where you weren't supposed to upload them to the internet. If you really wanted to know what they were, you had to go to a concert and buy the album. Either way, there were any number of discussions online trying to predict the outcome of the next new gen murder based on Phantasm's lyrics. Their album published on an indie label had been selling extremely well after the new gen incident started. Golly, I wonder why. Some observers in the media had noticed, and Phantasm now appeared sometimes in articles about the cult hit with the Shibuya youth. FES was the one who wrote the lyrics. You pronounced it like the first half of festival, supposedly. Her real name wasn't known. Okay, so it is pronounced Fess. Okay, got it. I guess I was making the same mistake he did. Maybe she was the demon girl. If she was, you could just... Can he not just Google a picture of her? Does Deloodle not have... Is there no Deloodle image? Do they not have Deloodle image search? If she was, then that would explain how she was able to predict the murders months in advance. She was the one who'd carried them out after all. Oh, yeah. No, I see it right there. Deloodle image. I did an image search, but couldn't find a picture of her face. Oh, God. Every time! I swear I'm gonna tear that button off this controller. I'm gonna rip it off. Oh my God, I'm so bad. I did an image search, but couldn't find a picture of her face. All the photos from her concerts were taken with crappy cell phone cameras. They were too blurry to get a good look at her. Great. I wiped the sweat from my brow with my t-shirt again. Frustration, fear, a desire to believe nothing, a desire to see nothing. All these feelings came together and made it hard to breathe. I was still panting. I needed to see Fess's face. With the trembling hands on the keyboard, I went to Phantasm's official site. It was a simple design with a black background. The font was a blood-red crimson with a terrifying, ominous feel to it. The site itself had very little in the way of information, just a simple concert schedule and a discography. There were no profiles of the band members and no lyrics.
やっぱり犯人だけあってネットに顔写真が流出しないようにしてるのか。
She was clever. A look at their schedule showed me that they seemed to do concerts every 2 weeks. The next one was...
あさって。
If I went, I would be able to see if Fess was the demon girl, but what good would that do? Was I going to turn her over to the police? Beg her to leave me alone? Could I take a cross and try to exorcise her? You have one, conveniently. Not a chance. I couldn't do any of those things. She was a demon. A creepy otaku like me couldn't beat her. And if I lost, I would die. My corpse would become another disgusting piece of art, and photos of it would be uploaded to a new gen aggregator site.
そんなのやだ。
No, but if I didn't go, I wouldn't know why I was in the image Shogun had sent me. And maybe if Fess wasn't working with the demon girl, I could ask her for help.
だけどやっぱり無理だ。ライブなんて行けるわけがない。
I'd never been to one in my entire life. Especially in a concert hall that was cramped and dark and loud and filled with people. Just imagining it made me want to vomit. Concerts are tough for people like me and him and us. Not usually my jam. I didn't know what to do. Luckily, I don't have to worry about it. I'm broke AF, and those things are expensive. The prickling on my neck was still there. It had gone from a tingling numbness to a burning pain. And when I looked behind me, of course, nobody was there.
もうやめてよ。
I closed my eyes and waited for the gaze to go away. I refused to have this sensation following me for the rest of my life. Someday, it might get strong enough to actually kill me.
考えろ、匠。僕にできることを考えろ。
I hid myself behind a lamppost and stared at a club called Gigantes. Gigantes? Gigantes. I don't know. In the end, I'd spent the whole day thinking and worrying about it before finally deciding to go. Gigantes was in a distinctive red brick building near the Shibuya train tracks. God, I can read. Its exterior was lit up in a way that made it feel old, like something that would have been popular in the 70s or 80s. I had no idea that there was still a place like this in Shibuya. It was just 5 minutes from the station, but there were barely any people around. Sometimes I could hear a train passing above. Vibrations from the loud noise would shake the lamppost I was hiding behind. Until a moment ago, there had been a lot of people out front, wearing outfits that could easily be mistaken for cosplay. Well, maybe not a lot of them. It was surprising how relatively few of them there were. For that talk on the internet about Phantasm, there were probably only 100 or so people here. They were all inside now. The concert had started. The sound didn't reach outside, though, so it was still dead quiet. The nervous sensation in my heart that had started yesterday had only gotten worse when I arrived here. It hurt so much to breathe that I was beginning to wonder if I had some kind of heart disease. No, the reason was much simpler than that. It was dark around here. The demon girl or her servants could be lurking anywhere. I was desperately scanning the area around me, looking for anyone who might be about to jump me. Being there made me feel as tense as being in the Wan's volcanic labyrinth in ESO. The Wan's volcanic labyrinth was full of overpowered enemies, and the area itself was filled with lava. The slightest touch of lava meant instant death. How many times had I died in that zone? I wiped the sweat off my forehead with a hand towel and gulped. The door at the top of the stairs to Gigantes opened, and for a moment I could hear the sound of drums being violently pounded on. A boy came out of the door. He ran down the stairs and over to me. Hey, it's Buddy. I forgot his name again. I was the one who invited him to this concert. I didn't know his cell number, so I had been forced to go to school that day and talk to him. I don't think I could have gotten to Gigantes without him. And even if I had, if the demon girl was inside, it would be game over the minute I opened the door. That's why I'd enlisted him as a scout. It felt like I was using him, and I did feel a little guilty. Not that I said anything to him about it, of course. The only ones I could ask were him and Nanami. I opted for the one who'd been less obnoxious, which meant Misumi. Misumi, that's right, Misumi. I would pay for his ticket. In other words, I'd basically be hiring him for 1,000 yen.
ほらよ、これ CD な。俺自分の分も買っちまったよ。
He handed me a copy of Phantasm's album. They were going for a huge premium online, but I'd read on 8chan that you could buy one at a concert, so I decided to have Misumi get one for me. Now half my goal was accomplished. The other half was, you just gotta see her face.
いやー、予想以上にいいな。
Oh, he's probably gonna have him, like, describe her. He just left the concert hall and seemed a little excited.
俺、あんまミーハーになりたくなかったんで聞こうとしなかったんだけどよ。今日ちょっと生で聞いただけでファンになっちまった。
The other thing I'd asked him to do was describe the band members for me. They'd all come out as soon as the concert began, so all he'd need to do was take a quick look and report back to me. But I hadn't seen him for 5 whole minutes after the concert had started. Whoops. It seemed like their reason for that was him deciding to listen to their first song.
ボーカルありゃマジでいい女だぜお前女見る目あるな
You know what? I think I found the guy who started that forum thread. Yeah, Misumi was only ever going to think about things with his little head. So much for not liking what's popular.
どんな人だった？
ああそっか報告ななんか探偵みてえで面白いなそう思わねえ
He grinned and began to describe Fest to me.
髪型はショートカットだった
That didn't match the demon girl at all. Did that mean Fest wasn't the demon girl then? No, wait. It was too soon to be sure. You could always cut your hair or add extensions if you wanted. She might have been in disguise when I'd run into her at the murder scene.
スタイルがすっげえ良くてあと背が高かったなありゃ俺と同じぐらいはあるんじゃねえの
背が
About Misumi's height? Misumi's height wasn't much different from mine, so Fess was about 170 centimeters tall. Pretty tall for a girl. But when I'd run into the demon girl, she hadn't seemed especially tall to me. My memories weren't really that clear, but she'd seemed to be shorter than I was. Another thing that didn't match.
他には
そうだなアンニュイな雰囲気してたな
Ennui.
声はクールってイメージかな結構ボソボソと喋るタイプだった胸のサイズはまあまあでもゴスパンの服は妙な色気があったぜああいうのもありだな断然あり
It was no good. Just hearing someone else describe her wasn't going to be good enough. I'd only gotten a quick glance at the demon girl anyway. I don't think I could have described her even if you asked me to. Maybe this whole plan was a waste of time.
っていうかよそんなにフェスに興味あるなら自分の目で見ればいいじゃねえかほら行こうぜ
Misumi pushed me up the stairs of Gigantes. I tried to resist, but he was stronger than me, and I couldn't escape.
見たいんだろフェスの顔を素直になるって浮気ってのは男の差がだよなたくも大人になったもんだぜこの前一緒に帰ってたメガネの子のことは今夜だけは気にすんなって俺も田中のことは忘れるからよ
Oh yeah, about that. What was he talking about? I tried to resist, but I realized it was too late. We were already at the top of the stairs. It was only a single floor off the ground, but if I struggled here and slipped, a fall would hurt bad. The thought made me stop struggling. When I stopped resisting, Misumi shoved me through the door and into the concert hall. When I went inside, my ears were assaulted with a wave of sound. I'd never experienced anything this loud. I could feel it shaking the bottom of my stomach, and the vibrations felt like they threatened to tear me apart. There weren't any seats. Everyone was standing. The audience rocked their bodies in time with the rhythm, and I could hear cries of "Fess! Fess!" in time with the music. Their movements weren't as coordinated as the Oda-gay you saw at idol concerts, but they were still really impressive. What is Oda-gay? Oda-gay. Special calls or dance moves performed by some fans at idol concerts and other otaku-oriented events. I see. Is that like the glow sticks and like whoo thing? I feel like that's what was being described here. Some of these performances are incredibly elaborate, and each of the movements is given a name. If you're ever lucky enough to see a row of fans doing an otage in perfect harmony, it's a sight you'll never forget. That does sound like what that is. The intensity was incredible. I felt like I was about to throw up from the heat of so many bodies. I was an otaku, but not an idol or voice actress otaku, so to be honest, I didn't like concerts like this. The one saving grace was that nobody was looking at me, but I couldn't deny that I was terribly out of place here. There were so many people that I couldn't get a clear look at the stage. The most I could do was make out the silhouettes of 4 people standing under bright stage lights. While I stood there, overwhelmed, Misumi handed me a plastic cup with some soda in it. He must have paid for my ticket. I'd have to pay him back later. And then the song ended. A wave of cheers and applause went up from the audience. Finally, everyone lowered their raised fists. I had a clear view of the stage. I could get a clear look at the short-haired girl up there. She definitely wasn't the demon girl.
今日はいつもより調子いい
She
わ
looks so cool!
声がクリアに聞こえる世界がとても澄んでいる
Her voice, picked up by the amplifier and coming through the speakers, was nothing like the demon girl's either. Fess had, as Misumi said, a sense of ennui about her. She didn't seem boyish, despite her short hair. She had a strange aura that was simultaneously cute and seductive, but also aloof. She looked so cool! The accessories on her body reflected in the lights and gleamed silver, giving her a strange, unearthly look, like something from a fairy tale. I could understand why she was so popular in Atchan. You'd expect a singer like her to be loud and passionate, or so I assumed, but Fess was calm as she spoke into the mic. It was the complete opposite of the excitement of the crowd. Maybe that was just her personality. But the audience knew better than to shout over her. There was a silence as she spoke, and everyone listened.
呼吸と性の門が閉じているからかもしれない
What did she say? Cocytus? What language is that?
世界の均衡は
Greek, I believe.
大いなる意志が生まれてから数千年間保たれていたでも今それは崩れつつあるとても不安定だから私は歌うわ君たちのカオスを受け入れてあげる
Oh, now I understood. She was speaking in character. It was a goth punk thing. Maybe she was trying to say stuff that sounded ominous, even if you didn't know what it meant. It would make her seem kind of mystical, and help her concert connect better with the fans. Such a double standard. When she says stuff like that, she's this cool, fantastic, mystical rock star, but when a teenage scientist says stuff like that, he's crazy. In fact, Fess was holding something strange in her hand. In her left hand was a normal mic, but in her right was a strange mic stand that looked like some kind of sword. It had a strange form with flowing curves that felt alien and dangerous, and it looked so sharp that even touching it might threaten to sever a finger. It was huge, just as big as she was. The light embedded in the stand glowed with a strange, pale light. I wasn't sure if it even was a mic stand, but it was the perfect prop to help define her character. I found myself strangely unable to take my eyes off it. Fess raised the huge mic stand above her head. And with an underhanded grip, she swung it in an arc in front of her. The pale light of the glass made a full half circle in the air. That was really dangerous. What if it hit someone? Maybe it wasn't a mic stand, but a sword. And maybe, like, she would cut off the head of a member of the audience each night in order to offer up their still warm blood to the demon girl. Well, that's quite a story. That would make this whole concert a black mass led by witches. I began to shiver. Maybe it would be better to just leave now. But I want to see the ritualistic sacrifice. Don't take that out of context. Derek Nicholas. Another huge cheer went up from the audience. I hope it actually plays the song. Alright. Turn up a little bit. The Members of the band all began to move at once, and a flood of sound hit my ears again. It felt like it was going to destroy my eardrums. How did they all keep from going deaf? I looked to my side and Misumi was having a great time, raising his fist to the rhythm along with the rest of the audience. Just... I genuinely love this music. Like, I know I have to progress the story and all, but like, I just... God, it feels so wrong to talk over this, but I will continue the story. The intro ended and Fess began to sing. The lyrics made me freeze. Oh, I knew it was a bad idea. I knew I shouldn't have. Ah, no. Now it's quieter. This was the prophetic song that I'd seen on Atchan. It was a dark song without a glimmer of hope to be found in it. Maybe it was partially the lyrics too, but the melody felt almost religious. I'm gonna have to find this on YouTube later, just because I could listen to the song in all its glory. As the song progressed, the crowd's cheers faded, and before long they were silent. All of them were listening intently, however, and some of them even seemed to be gazing at FES in a kind of ecstasy. There was certainly something in her voice that drew you to her. Even as I fought against my fear of the crowd and the urge to vomit, I was listening to make sure I heard her sing. Somehow, the temperature in the room seemed to drop to below freezing in an instant. The song ended. Fess looked down, her body swaying from side to side, immersing herself in the last seconds of the song. Then she suddenly raised her head, and without any doubt or hesitation, it's gotta be a good one. I need some good. We need some good. I don't want to have a delusion of her murdering Takumi or something. Looked right at me. I don't mean our eyes met for a moment, or that she was looking in my direction. She was clearly looking straight at me. Staring, as if trying to see all she could. As if trying to see who I was. As if trying to see into my heart. Her gaze was so powerful, and for some reason, kind of sad. Okay, it's wobbly. So this, I think that's the key. I really do. I'm pretty sure the key is if it goes all wobbly, it's not real. This isn't real. This is just him having a crazy moment. So far, I've had one of these where it didn't go all wobbly, which at the time I assumed it wasn't real. I was wrong. So it is. It's the wobbly. I'm going to work on that until I'm proven wrong. Without taking her eyes off me, she walked right off stage. The members of Phantasm began to play again, but she wasn't singing. As she slowly worked her way through the crowd, she threw off her jacket in a languid motion, exposing her sexy shoulders. The fans began to get excited again. They raised their fists and jumped up into the air. The vibrations were shaking the floor like an earthquake. But nobody tried to touch her. She seemed almost scared to them. Scared? What? Sacred. The word is sacred. You'd think if someone with her charisma came down into the audience, people would be jumping all over her. But some kind of unspoken understanding kept her believers from touching her. Even so, feeling her so close, smelling the scent of her sweat, touching the same air as her. Alright, now it's getting weird. These were the greatest joys her followers could ask for. Maybe this was some kind of performance she did at every concert, I thought. But then I was shocked at what she did next. She began to take... Okay, this is about to get weird. She began to casually take off her belt. She tossed it into the crowd, and all of her followers scrambled to grab it for themselves. Fess gave them a contemptuous glance, and then... she lowered the zipper on her miniskirt. Oh boy. It fell to the ground. Revealing sexy black underwear. Fess didn't seem to mind exposing herself to her followers at all. Maybe she was high on the excitement, or maybe it was part of the performance, or maybe she was just an exhibitionist. I didn't know, but she was so sexy I couldn't take my eyes off her. God. It's just something about, like, half-naked chick with giant, like, anime sword. Out of control. Fess looked back at me. She gave me a seductive smile.
Oi, こっち来るぞ.
Her gaze was locked on me. She got closer and closer, as if homing in on a target. I like, what if the good delusion, or the bad delusion is her coming up and killing you? The bad delusion is her coming up, taking off her clothes, and then killing you. That would actually be really funny. Just the only difference is the good one, she takes off her clothes. Oh my god. And when she got right in front of me, she exhaled, her soft breath and her breath soft and sweet like a lover, and embraced me. Her skin was slick with sweat. The smell and the warmth made me dizzy. She pressed her chest against me. It heaved up and down rapidly with each breath. They say that singing takes a lot of energy, but I could feel her hot, panting breath directly through my skin. I feel icky saying these things out loud. Her arms were wrapped tightly around my back. Her nails dug into my neck. Her thighs clung to my legs. I feel like I'm reading softcore porn right now. My body... My body felt like it had been hit by lightning. I couldn't push her off, or even return her embrace. All I could do was stand there, blinking in confusion. Erotic fiction, that's the word I was looking for. The followers started to cheer once again. It was almost like a scream. The band's performance became louder and more violent. The cries of "Fess! Fess!" filled the hall. Then they started to mix with cries of "Do it! Do it! Do what?" Oh, I actually said "do what?" Do what? I didn't understand. Fess was silently holding on to me. I looked over at Misumi for help. He was exchanging a deep kiss with a female audience member. That part, I believe. I think that part actually happened. No, it wasn't just Misumi. Oh god, is this turning into a straight up orgy? What is happening? The other followers, male and female, had all cast off their clothes and were embracing each other. Some were kissing, some were even starting to have sex. God. It turned into a loud, screaming orgy. There were moans, cheers, and the indecent sound of flesh rubbing flesh, all of it accompanied by the playing of the Phantasm Band. It's out of control. A black mass. I finally understood. Fess was a witch, and this was her obscene Sabbath. And I'd been chosen to be the night's sacrifice. I would be Fess's partner. This happened at every Phantasm concert. I started to get caught up in it too. It was like a thin veil of fog was covering my mind. A sense of fear and anticipation of what was to come. A sense of ecstasy and superiority at being chosen as her partner. I thought I would go crazy. She laughed again, right up against my ear. Even amid this flood of sound, I could still hear it clearly. It was such a sexy sound. Just hearing it felt like enough to make me pass out. But Fess was inviting me to experience even greater pleasure. She softly bit my ear and then blew a hot breath into it. And then she whispered, "Oh my god. This is the good one. This is the green one." Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it's not like good and bad. Maybe it's literally just two different things. Maybe they're just different.
フェスエロいよ、フェス。
Oh my god. I was sitting in front of my computer enjoying my delusions. The concert I'd gone to today was a good change of pace. Fess was pretty cute, for a 3D girl. Having so many people around triggered my agoraphobia hard, though. I definitely wasn't going to go back. In the end, I'd gotten sick from being around the crowd and fled the concert hall. Today's delusion was a good one. Maybe Fess and Phantasm really were doing that stuff at their concerts. Okay, I guess he liked it. Maybe me and Takumi just have different different ideas of what good and bad delusions are. You know what I mean? I guess we just have different strokes for different folks, you know what I mean? Maybe today they just didn't for some reason. Anyway, time for some ESO. ESO was my life. It was a place where I could feel at home, a place that would help me forget all the awful things that happened in reality. Inside ESO, I could forget all the bad things that happened. I ceased to be me and became Nightheart, free to travel as I wished in Basilard. But today, Nightheart wasn't doing so good. Of course, I knew it was my fault. The problem was with my own judgment and reaction times. But I was failing at things I could normally do easily. I was playing to make myself feel better, but I was just feeling worse.
なんだよこいつ。捨てるぞお前。
I knew it was my own fault, but I still yelled at Nightheart.
ああ、もうムカつく。
I tore at my hair and kicked the exposed metal plating that formed the wall of my room. After working out my anger, I sighed and leaned back in my chair. I stared at the monitor, only half paying attention to what was on the screen. Nightheart was no longer under my control. He was standing at the entrance of Shangri-La City, facing in a random direction with his back turned to me and not moving an inch. I always fought the enemies like this, with his back to me. Nightheart's experience points were maxed out, of course.
僕の経験値っていくつなんだろう。
Had the person named Takumi Nishijo grown at all since I'd started ESO? No, since I'd even been born? If I had, why was it so hard to talk to people? Why was I living a life that was one step away from being a total hikikomori? If I didn't log in for a few weeks, would Nightheart become a hikikomori too? Whose eyes are those? For some reason, as I looked at Nightheart's back, I remembered those words. I just realized, is that like his eyes are on Night? I wonder if Nightheart has the same thought. I started to wonder what Nightheart did when I wasn't controlling him. I kept my hands off the keyboard for a while, eating my stale chips and watching him. Maybe that's why he... Well, no, he said he'd been having that since before he started playing. Oh god, it skipped something. Why did it skip? What happened? He'd be walking tall through a city of Shangri-La, head held high. I didn't press the button, I swear. I didn't press it that time. He was a hero and everyone loved him. I'm done rambling. My ramble is over.
ねえ、ナイトハルト。僕はいつでもお前を見てるんだぞ。
I'm gonna make it bad this time.
お前はそれ
Do
に
the
気づい
bad
て
one.
るの。
Gotta balance him out, you know? Is Nightheart gonna turn around and be like, what do you think you're doing? And then... the monitor was bathed in a bright light. I was caught off guard and closed my eyes.
気づいてないと思ったのか。
I heard a voice.
いつも俺はお前の命令に従ってきたのに。
It is! He's gonna be like, you suck, dude! The voice was coming from the monitor.
俺の中の人がここまでバカだとは思わなかったぜ。
Damn! Who are you? I opened my eyes, but the light a moment ago had blinded me. I couldn't see a thing.
もういい。俺はお前を捨てる。
Deleting you!
これからは自由に生きる。
Was that Nightheart? What did he mean? He was going to delete me.
そのままの意味だ。だからお前はバカなんだ。
Damn. I made you. You're my character. Are you rebelling against me?
そうだ。もううんざりだ。何が疾風陣雷だ。中二病にも程があるだろう。
Damn.
お前にわかるか。俺がどんな気持ちでそう呼ばれていたか。お前はかっこいいつもりだったかもしれないがな。俺からすれば恥ずかしいだけなんだよ。でも俺は自分の言葉を発することもできず、じっと耐えるしかなかったんだ。
うるさい。生意気だぞ。
This is like an actual nightmare for me. Just like, that's... Wow. Brutal.
勝手にしろ。だがな、これだけは覚えておけ。お前が俺をボタン一つで消せるように、お前もお前の中の人にボタン一つで消される程度の存在なんだと。
What was he talking about?
まあ実際にはそんなことあるわけないけどね。
That was a short one. I chuckled a little at my delusion and stared at Nightheart, who was still standing silently in the world of Basilard. Maybe I'd keep him a little safer than usual today, do less risky things. I started playing once more. Maybe change his name to something less stupid. Who are we kidding? Nightheart is so cool! Lightning fast Nightheart! I'll tell it just as it happened. I went to school today, and then when it was over, I found myself buying a cell phone with my little sister. You might not understand what I'm talking about. I didn't understand when it happened to me either.
お兄何ブツブツ言ってんの？それよりほらこの機種はどうかって聞いてるんだけど。
God, I wanted to go home. How many times would I have to tell her that I didn't want a cell phone before it sunk in? When I got to school today, she'd barged right into my classroom. Wow, look who actually came to school today, she'd said, and then she'd ordered me to come buy a phone with her. Wow. After school, I tried to escape before she could find me, but I'd forgotten how fast she could be. She'd easily found me, caught up to me, and dragged me to a shop in front of the station. I didn't want to go anywhere near the station. I never did. Every time I went, I felt like I'd throw up any minute now. Nanami didn't know or care how I felt, though. She was looking at all the different display models and muttering to herself. I couldn't understand why Nanami would care about what kind of phone I got.
これ色が結構可愛いじゃん。いいと思うな。
She asked my opinion, and I gave the obvious answer.
それっていい？
でもな、お兄にはちょっと可愛すぎかも。似合わなさそう。
I would like the phone that lets me go home the soonest, please. I told her I was fine with it, and she didn't listen. I'd lost count of how many times I told her I was okay with whatever model she wanted. She asked my opinion, but didn't seem interested in listening to it. That was the problem with 3D women.
お兄、大丈夫？やっぱり人の多さにやられちゃった？マクディで休もうか？
MacD's? You want me to go into a fast food chain that's full of I can't remember, is it Donkyu? Is that how it's pronounced? Oh, whatever. Donkyu. That would be even worse than this place. Dokyun, that's right, Dokyun.
じゃあなるべく早めに決めるね。でもちょっと迷っちゃっててさ。
I know how to... I sighed and decided to leave her behind so I could go home. Oh, no, because I accidentally put auto on, that's what happened. I have a fully functional brain, I swear. It works. Just gotta, just gotta let it warm up a bit. It's only 4:30 in the afternoon, I'm still waking up. I sighed and decided to leave her behind so I could go home. She was staring intently at the rows of cell phones, which gave me an opportunity to slip away. Donkey. I started to walk toward the 107 when I saw something so startling I came to a stop. What was that? I don't know, you tell me. Oh, is there a fire? On the other side of the huge crowd of people, on the steps to the 107 building, there was a girl who stood out from the rest. Okay, no fire, I guess. Was she holding a sword? Its colors and the way it looked reminded me of the mic stand that Fess had been holding during the concert. It was probably from the same product line, I assumed. Sure was a big sword, though. It might have been even longer than the one Fess had been holding. The girl with the sword was, surprisingly, wearing a Sume uniform. From this distance, I couldn't make out her face. Even though she was holding something so huge and attention-grabbing, she was standing there calmly as she looked down at the people below her. It must have taken a ton of courage to do that. I was really impressed, seriously. Carrying a huge toy sword like that in the middle of Shibuya, wasn't that incredibly embarrassing? That sword was probably an accessory for some new anime cosplay. Of course, I kept an eye on all the new anime that's coming out. Was there anything with a sword like that this season? Had I missed it? There was no way I would ever be able to carry something like that through the middle of Shibuya, but it was really a sweet sword. I kinda wanted one. I wondered if they were selling them in Akihabara. Maybe online?
Oni?
Busted. I suddenly took a heavy elbow to the back. I almost crumpled to the ground in pain. I turned around to see Nanami looking at me, arms crossed in anger.
もしかして逃げようとした？確かにナナが選ぶのに時間かけすぎたのは悪いと思うけどさ。だからってナナを置き去りにして逃げようとするなんてひどいよ。
I shook my head, or tried to anyway.
お兄のバカ、携帯の電磁波の浴びすぎで腎臓を悪くして死んじゃえ。
How incredibly specific. What was she talking about?
一生懸命お兄のために選んであげてたナナがバカみたいじゃん。こうなったらもう適当に決める。お兄なんてナナと同じ機種で十分だよ。
She grabbed me by the arm, hard.
本気で今日契約するんだからね。それまで絶対逃がさない。
わかったよ。話せよ。
わかったならさっさと来て。
I had no idea why this was such a big deal to her. She really was an annoying little sister. In the end, all that time she'd spent picking a phone was totally wasted, as she just ended up getting me the same one she had. After an hour or so of signing contracts and filling out paperwork, I tried to take my phone and go, but Nanami stopped me.
ナナが初期設定してあげるからマクディやろ。
She ignored my protestations and grabbed me by the collar, dragging me to the nearest McD's.
どうせお兄携帯持って帰っても電源入れずにほったらかしにするに決まってるんだから。ナナがちゃんと使えるようにしてあげる。
Damn it. She was really determined to make me miserable. Why did it have to be a McD's? McD's in Shibuya was hell. There would always be too many people, and it would be incredibly loud, with the Dokyun ratio off the charts. Also, this really weirdly looks like the McDonald's down the street from me. Like, minus the hanging lights, it's eerily uncanny. A group of 3 Dokyun-looking brown-haired mothers and... I read brown-haired mother, and I thought it was... Dokyun-looking brown-haired mothers. No, brown-haired mothers and their kids were sitting at the table next to me. Their kids, and all 3 were little brats with red streaks dyed in their hair, were running around the store screaming. Their mothers were simply ignoring them. Are we sure this is Japan? This isn't America? This isn't... literally my city? Are we sure? At another table, 4 Dokyun-looking teenage boys were laughing loudly in their obnoxious voices. 2 high school girls in loose socks were sitting across from each other, both staring at their phones. They weren't talking. Next to them, a middle-aged salaryman was lying head down on a table, snoring. He was clearly skipping work. A table a little farther away was even stranger. A group of 5 boys and girls in elementary school had set their backpacks on the ground and were dangling their legs as they happily chatted with one another. A group date? You're in elementary school and you're on a group date? It was people I wanted nothing to do with as far as the eye could see. It was amazing that none of me could feel at home here. The sheer number of people were making my head hurt, and I felt like I was going to vomit. Why did I have to be here with my sister at MacD's anyway?
ねえねえ、着信メロディーはどうする？なんか希望ある？
She wasn't even looking at me, just playing with my phone.
アニソン。
キャッカー。そんなだからお兄はオタクさんなんだよ。
Deal with it! You're the one who asked me. It's my phone anyway. Let me put what I want on it.
あ、そうだ。大村彼らの新曲にしたら？あれすっごくいい曲だよ。最近のナナのお気に入り。
それこそ却下だ。
うん、まあお兄に大村彼らは似合わないか。
She cruelly insulted her older brother as she bit into a French fry. She'd ordered a fish sandwich combo, even though we hadn't had dinner yet. I had had to pay, too. For my part, I felt too sick to even consider eating anything. It wasn't fair.
あ、そうそう。それとね。
For some reason, she pulled her bag up to her lap and began to look through it.
お、あったあった。
And then she took out... as a girl...
ガエルンの不良品。
Why is he defective? Why is he gotta be defective?
不良品じゃないよ。先週出たギョロリゲロカエルン。
Oh, because the eyes are... I see.
は
I love Garo Froggy. It's so cute. It gets so much flack from the protagonists, but you know what?
知らないんだ。やっぱ遅れてるな、お兄は。ゲロカエルンって毎週金曜日に新作が発売されてるんだよ。もう全部で12種類ぐらいあるんだから。
Really? Was there enough demand to make a new one every week?
ナナが携帯につけてるのは最初に出た普通のゲロカエルンでしょ。で、次がデブッチョゲロカエルンで、その次がカクカクゲロカエルン。
I want to see Blocky Garo Froggy. She quickly ran off the names of the various Garo Froggies.
第4弾がのっぺらゲロカエルンで、第5弾が輝くゲロカエルン。
Okay, I gotta see some of these. Why? Where's Radiant Garo Froggy?
第6弾が一番人気があって、猫ゲロカエルンっていうの。
I can see.
その
I can
後
see why that one
が
would be
幽霊ゲロ
popular.
カエルン、眠るゲロカエルン、燃えるゲロカエルン、ゾンビゲロカエルン、酔っ払いゲロカエルン。
See, a lot of these I can just imagine. I want to see Radiant Garo Froggy and I want to see Blocky Garo Froggy. Wow, she had memorized them all? Wait a second, did that mean...
お前コンプリートしてるの？
もちろんだよ。全部集めなきゃ意味ないもん。毎週買うのに行列ができるんだからね。
For this lazy, sloppily made product? To be honest, I could have probably have come up with a better design. Why had she started giving me a lecture about Garo Froggy anyway?
というわけで、このギョロリゲロカエルンあげる。
え、なんで？
このストラップを携帯につければ、少しは女子から「お、やるな」っていう目で見てもらえるから。
She began to attach it to my phone, despite my obvious disapproval.
コンプしなきゃ意味ないんだろ。
She obviously got 2. Come on now.
僕がそれもらったらお前揃わないぞ。
心配しなくても大丈夫。2つ買ったもん。
毎回2つ買ってるのか。
I was really starting to worry about her sense of taste.
今回だけだよ。お兄の携帯用に余分に買ったの。
わざわざ。
わざわざ。
She finished attaching the strap and nodded, satisfied, before taking a sip of her drink. But then suddenly she gasped and leaned toward me.
別に並んだのはお兄のためじゃないよ。あくまでついでなんだから。
いらない。
はあ？
Nanami leaned forward with wide eyes. She looked ready to leap across the table at me.
いらないってナナがわざわざ買ってきてあげたのに。
ついでだったんだろっていうか僕ゲロカエルンとか興味ないしむしろキモいし。
How dare you? How absolutely dare you?
だからお兄は女子にモテないんだよ。
I thought she was going to slap me, but instead she calmly sat down and began to nibble on her fries.
でも抵抗しても無駄だからね。よろりゲロカエルンもうくっつけちゃったもん。
There's no removing it. It is bonded for life. It was like she thought she was in control here. Well, I guess she was. I hated to admit it, but she knew way more about phones than me.
もし勝手に外したら毎週並んでもらうの刑だからね。
並ぶって何に？
決まってんじゃん。新作ゲロカエルンを買うための行列。2時間待ちとか普通だから。
Oh dear lord. Insane. Why did I have to be threatened by my own little sister? She kept fiddling with my phone for a while after that. It kept her quiet, so I preferred it this way.
なんだか変な気分だな。
The next time she spoke, her bad mood had disappeared. Maybe she was the type who didn't need to sleep on something unpleasant to forget about it. She could just forget about it after just a few minutes. What an easygoing personality she had. In a way, I was jealous.
うん、やっぱ変だよ。
It's a learned skill.
お兄とこうして2人で出かけるのって久しぶりな気がするもん。いつ以来かな。よく思い出せないや。お兄はいっつも部屋にこもってアニメ見てるかゲームしてるかだもんね。ま、たまにはこういうのもいいかな、新鮮で。さすがに毎日はナナも嫌だけど。
Nanami put my phone on the table and picked up her fish sandwich. She happily took off the wrapper and bit in. I don't know why, but she kind of looks like a fish here. Like, just like a little... I don't know... I can't describe what I mean by that, but something about this image makes her just... I don't know. Just...
せいぜい太るがいいさ。
I suddenly remembered her saying that she liked the fish sandwiches here. She suddenly froze. She was looking at me with hatred in her eyes. And then, after moments' hesitations, she slowly offered me the half-eaten sandwich.
半分食べる？
もう手遅れだよ。うん。
そういうこと言うと上司に嫌われるって覚えといた方がいいよ、バカ鬼。
I mean, I think the point was to insult you, so... In the end, she ate the whole sandwich by herself. You greedy girl. What? Alright. After that, I was forced to listen to more of her boring stories before she finally handed the phone over to me. By then, the sun had set. It had been a long, painful few hours. I was finally able to say goodbye and head home. Fall was in full swing, and the chill of the night breeze did wonders to calm my headaches and urge to vomit. Being in a crowd for a long time always made my head hurt and made me want to throw up. I wish Nanami would die. I wish Nanami would die. Not literally die, but you know. Yes, I also have siblings, so I know exactly what he means. She only cared about herself. He had absolutely no idea how much the things she was doing were hurting me. I was sure of that. If I could have, I would have snapped the phone in half and thrown it in the nearest garbage can. It wasn't my money, for one thing. But if I did that, Nanami would just come back, with my parents in tow this time, and they'd just tell me I had to buy another one since the first one broke. I restrained my impulse to destroy the thing. Time to just go home. Go home and play some ESO. The stress had really been building up over these past few days. I hoped my peaceful daily life would come back soon. Another bizarre murder had taken place that night. The fourth New Gen murder. I was playing ESO when Grim, as usual, came to tell me. Yo, Grim. You're late tonight. Whose eyes are those? Stop saying that! Everybody be saying that. For a moment, I couldn't believe my eyes. How did Grim know those words? My fingers were shaking on the keyboard. I didn't know what to say. It was all I could do to keep my eyes on the monitor as he typed. The fourth New Gen murder happened. Been watching the festival. Shibuya's going nuts, man. This one's the craziest of the lot. Crazier than Pregnant Man? I think not. All of the blood was drained from the... Oh my god, stop. All the blood was drained from the victim's corpse. They found the body in the Inokoshira Line station toilets, and what happened to the body was just messed up. All its skin turned green. Scary, super scary. I'm starting to believe those guys who say, I didn't read fast enough. I bit my lip in front of the computer. I came close to imagining it in my mind, but I managed to shake off the delusion. I took a sip of soda to calm myself down. Damn that Grim. He was deliberately trying to ambush me. He knew it. I'm starting to believe guys who say something occult are in the right. No human could have done that. No reaction? Man, what a dick. Yeah, I can't scroll down, so like I have to read those as they go. Otherwise I'm gonna miss them. I gotta be on my toes here. How do you know so much about it? You're talking like you actually saw it. Well, I did, basically. What? You still don't care, then? About New Gen? I'd rather spend my free time grinding in ESO than reading up on New Gen. That's our lightning fast Nightheart. He grinds like no mere mortal can. Our inspiration, our idol. I didn't want to talk about New Gen, so I tried to change the subject as soon as possible. Anyway, check this out. It's an auction? Well, I feel like I'm about to get trolled. Last time this had happened, he trolled me with what he said was a Guru image, and it turned out to be something stupid he'd drawn. It was entirely possible he'd do the opposite this time. Wait, you seriously don't know? Know what? Are you actually just that far behind everyone else? Shut up. So what is it? What if I told you your beloved Seiriten was involved? Now you have his attention. Really? Then I had to look at it. Well, it looked like it was some kind of auction site. It probably wasn't a mental browser crash or anything bad like that, right? Browser crash? So like a virus or something? An image, web page, etc. that crashes the user's browser. Self-explanatory. Some of these can place extreme stress on the browser program or cause the system itself to behave in unexpected ways. In the mid-2000s, it was common to paste these onto anonymous message boards in an attempt to lure unwary users. The worst of them could even damage a user's computer. That's really shitty. Don't do that. A mental browser crash is an image which causes severe psychological distress to the viewer. These images, however, do not harm the PC itself. I see. That's fucked up. Don't do that either. I clicked on the link, a little excited. Thank you for coming today, guest. Adult auction, item details. There is a shortage of type B blood. I'm sorry, are we bidding on blood right now? Auction, women's, sports, swimsuits, amateur/corporate. There's a shortage of type B blood. Seller information, seller reputation. Bidding starts at 4,000. I'm still not 100% sure what's being sold. Is blood being sold right now? Product information. Current price. Seller question. It just says there is a shortage of type B blood. What was this flyer? I'd seen it somewhere before. Deja vu again. Yeah, that was at the doctor place. Anyway, where was the pic of Serotan? I scrolled the mouse wheel to go down to the page. Go down the page. Oh, Jesus Christ! Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Come on! You suck, Grim. And I was suddenly met with what was clearly a Guro image. I quickly looked back toward the left monitor and closed the browser. The Guro image had only been on my monitor for 3 seconds. I had really only gotten a solid look at it for less than a second, but still. Screw you, Grim. You're the worst. It's a pic of the 4th New Gen body. It was put up on an auction site before the media had reported on the murder. You could buy the victim's brutally murdered corpse, lol. In other words, the one who posted it has to be the New Gen killer. Crazy, huh? The username for the auction was Vampirer. I mean, it's obviously a throwaway username, though. But the whole internet's going nuts. It's getting pasted to all kinds of message boards. They're making memes of it, too. Oh, good. The meme craftsmen were right on top of it. And there's a dying message in it, too. In the image. Dying message. A dying message. On the wall, written in the victim's blood. Maybe the killer is just doing it for the lol. Hello, Mr. Nightheart. Did you freeze on me? No, you're just a dick. I'd only gotten to see the picture for a second. But still.
ゲームだ。こんな世界は虚構のゲームの世界に違いないんだ。
The image of those red letters sloppily painted on the wall was burned into my brain. I tried not to think about it, but each of them came to my mind in turn, as if accusing me.
なんであの言葉が
Oh, the dying message was the word on the wall was, whose eyes are those? I see. I knew those words well. I said those words often. They were a question I would ask to no one in particular, and Grimm had said them to me when I logged into ESO. Each of the words was common by itself, but no one else used them the way I did. Oh god, that's horrendous. I'm glad there's, oh good, made it to chapter 3, Shogun. Yeah, I'm out. I gotta get some food. We've arrived in chapter 3. I'm glad that there was no picture. I mean, maybe there was, and I have mentally blocked it out, but there's no picture of Pregnant Man. I still think Pregnant Man takes the cake on worst, number one worst. I don't want to think about Pregnant Man anymore, so I'm gonna go make some food and proceed to not think about Pregnant Man. Bye.